Great, thank you so much. It's really nice to be here today. Ooh, I just knocked your notes off. So a little bit about me. I'm a social scientist by training. Got my PhD at University of Maryland, so glad to see people here from Maryland. And I've been at Cornell since 2006 in extension, and then at the university in this position since it was formed, the Institute for Climate Smart Solutions, 4 years ago. And the tools that I'm going to talk about really were a key part of the hiring when I was hired. A key thing that I was supposed to do is develop tools. And it's so exciting to see this site that we've developed really, I think, taking off. I'll talk a little bit about it, but we've had farmer groups, Farm Credit, call us and ask us for presentations this year. We're getting 900 website hits a month. And so I think we're finally hitting a turning point to where farmers realize the climate is changing and they really want this information. Okay, so when we were developing this site, and a key partner is the Northeast Regional Climate Center, so with ART, I say we, a group of us, social scientists and climatologists and ag specialists, we really wanted to make sure that we had a site that was specific to the Northeast. And I point out these differences. We all know in the Northeast, agriculture is very different from Kansas or the Southeast. We have varying landscapes. Sarah's going to be talking later about her farm. It's on a very rolling hill, small farm in Munnsville, New York. That's the type of farming we have. We also have big farms. We have a diversity of farm types and crops and different climate signals. So there are different tool systems out there. And Art talked about how we're moving to where we want integrated tools. Farmers don't just want to go to one place and get a tool that was developed from a grant. They want a suite of tools. And so if you are in the Midwest, there is U2U. If you're in the Southeast, there's agroclimate. But that is really very different in providing different tools than what we have been able to do in the Northeast. And so we see climate smart farming as the tools for climate change and agriculture in the Northeast, and we would love to build the partnership with USDA and other land-grant universities to host tools. So our program really was set up to focus on three things, mainly adaptation, mitigation, and increasing agricultural productivity. And this really it's very mirrored off the definition of climate smart agriculture. If you're aware of what's going on globally this term, and there's so much work going on CSA globally that it's great to be able to mirror that and mirror that work in the northeastern United States. So we've taken an approach from the beginning that we need to be stakeholder-driven. It's not enough to build tools and have them sit there. We need to get them out through extension. We need to build the tools that farmers are actually going to use and need. And so with David Lane and other postdocs, David's going to be talking tomorrow. We've held farmer focus groups in 2016 and 2017 with our partners from Penn State and Wisconsin. We get a lot of feedback. We do a lot of outreach events. We've reached 2,000 farmers in the last 6 months, and that's where I think that this is finally taking off. So we hear from farmers in the room and ask them, how do you think these are going to work for you, and get their feedback. So the site, I'm not going to talk about all aspects of the site, but there are decision tools right up front so a farmer can go in and see those and use those. We also have resources, including the USDA Adaptation Resource Framework, videos, and links to extensions. So if you're in New York State, we have a Climate Smart Farming extension team. Sarah Ficken is a member of that. I'm so glad she could be here today. But we also know that we're serving the Northeast, and so we link to extension in other states. And I was really excited to hear the last panel and the huge focus there on social science. We have really worked hard to capture stories of farmers and what they're experiencing and what they're doing to adapt. And so there are videos on the site, including this amazing quote by a farmer who has over 1,000 acres of grain, and he talks about apocalyptic rain events. So you should watch it and hear him him tell his story. So the tools that we've built, I'll show you on, if I have a pointer. Where's the pointer? The pointer, on the left-hand side of the tools, our programmer, Brian Belcher's done a really great job. Version 2.0 of all the tools has just been released, and he's worked hard to make what the farmer would enter the same on every tool. And so there's a location change map here. Any farmer from West Virginia to Maine can use these tools for free. You just enter your location. There's a lot of data that can be entered. It's different for each tool. This is showing the water deficit calculator. And then down on the bottom, as Art said, folks are interested in different periods of data. So we have the season to date, the 30-day outlook in some cases. And where we're going in the future is none of the sites that I mentioned really talk about long-term climate change. And that is where we're trying to go in the future, to provide, well, this is the situation now, what is going to happen in 2050 or 2080? And the data that we're using, we're really partnering closely with the Northeast Regional Climate Center. So these tools are built off of 4-kilometer by 4-kilometer gridded climate data. They incorporate the National Weather Service forecasts and agricultural models. So with that, I'll show you. I wish I could go live, but we don't have time. But there is a website, a laptop outside. If you would like to try the tool or try it on your phone or your computer after the talk and you have questions, please let us know. So the first tool we built is a growing degree day calculator. Art mentioned this morning that it's not enough just to use a static 30-year look back. And that is really the differentiator of this tool, is that it's updated on a daily basis and it's not just giving you the information on a static 30 years back. It's giving really relevant information that shows you the context of climate change. So if you see right here, these black lines show you the period of record. This blue line is the 15-year average. This purple line is the 30-year normal, what would have been in previous growing degree day tools. And this shows the season to date for Waterville, Maine, which is where I went to college. I chose different locations here. This shows you the growing degree day accumulation for the 2017 season is way above the 15-year average. So not only can this be used by farmers, but I think this is a great educational tool, just to give people, based on their location, what's happening this season, and you can choose different seasons looking back. We also built a water deficit calculator. This came out right during the drought. For this tool, I've entered College Park, Maryland, where I went to school. And this is showing you water deficit for 2017. I've entered a medium soil water capacity, the crop type of vegetables, and I chose a planting date of April 12th, 2017, and I chose that I'm not irrigating. And it shows you that in July, we got down to deficit. Severe plant stress was likely. And again, in October. And these show these rain events where the water capacity of the soil is built up enough that there's no deficit. So if you were to go to the tool now, you would enter the 2018 season. Brian, our programmer, just hit the switch so that a farmer going in now would start entering data for this season. But if they wanted, they could go back to previous seasons. And I want to point out in your packet that you all got this wonderful irrigation pays and protecting crop revenues fact sheet from the University of Vermont. Was built off of the data that was in this water deficit calculator. So that's a really great partnership. I would love to see more studies like that. Or I would love to see the tool be able to do this kind of calculation automatically. And I'm going to go quickly through. There's also an apple and grape freeze risk tool. This is showing a time, what's the date here? 2015, in an area where there is an apple farm in Western New York, where the apple crop did dip below this damage level for potential freeze risk. And so it can give a little bit of a warning for when there's a freeze risk potential to a farmer. And the last tool, I mentioned that we really build these off of farmer input. This was a request from farmers in northern New York from our extension specialist, Kitty O'Neill, who does a lot of work with cover crops and forage for dairy up in northern New York. And she said, well, the seasons are changing so much, and it's a wet season in the beginning of the year, and it's very cold, and they can't get into plant. And so we need to work backwards from the growing degree day accumulation to know what is the last date that you could get a cover crop established. And so that's what this tool does. Again, you can enter your location, and it will give you different options, 3 right now for a cover crop, and when's the last date that you're going to get a probability of enough biomass. And so we've already gotten feedback from curmudgeon farmers in a meeting in Richfield Springs that said, well, that's not really helpful because sometimes I'm just going to put the crop in just to get the crop insurance or to get a benefit no matter how much it grows. So we'll go back and fix this and fine-tune it and make it even more useful. And so I wanted to end with 2 more tools. We've talked a lot about how farmers want forecasting information in this period of 5 minutes? Okay. Is it 10 days to 10 years is what Toby Alt at Cornell talks about, that is the most difficult period to forecast and do climate modeling, but he's working hard to give some information. So he's developed a new tool called spring forecasting, and this is it's predicting the spring onset weeks to months in advance by focusing on timing of spring indicators. And this is on our site as one tool that you could choose. So it's telling this map, there's 2 maps that it shows. This is showing how early or late it would be in different regions of the country. Another tool that he's developed is a Northeast New York Drought Atlas. And this is mapping the Palmer Drought Severity Index. It's updated every month. You can zoom in, at least for New York right now, and choose your county. This is showing Shenango County, New York, what the Palmer Drought Severity Index was for different years. And his postdoc, who works really closely with us, is developing a forecast for this. So we're trying to get to the place where we can provide a little bit more detail for the future. So the key takeaways in developing these tools that I wanted to highlight, and then we're going to hopefully have a discussion among the 3 of us with Tony's facilitation. We had a great call before to get ready for this, is that it's really key for us, and I think for other tool sites, to partner with these regional climate centers, because they are in charge of managing the data and making it available for their region. So we could not have done this without the Northeast Regional Climate Center, but it really means that we could serve as the climate and ag tool site and partner with other universities to host tools and host the data because we have this partnership. The U2U site was built through grant funds on a large coordinated agriculture project that ended. Grants often end, and then researchers say, what do I do with this tool? How am I going to maintain it? There's no more money. Well, now that site is hosted by the Midwest Regional Climate Center. We've also worked hard to get farmer input that's ongoing. We're doing a survey right now, sampling of 3,000 New York State farmers that talks about what kind of weather information they use and do they know about these tools and would they use them. Extension is key to getting these tools out to farmers. Sarah organized an awesome event at a farm last year. We showed the tools, we walked around the farm and talked about extreme rainfall, and that really gets these tools out and being used. If you build it, they're not going to just come. You have to have that extension link. Funding, we've built this really from actually foundation dollars and some Hatch dollars that supports the Institute. But there isn't really a great mechanism in NIFA grants to support overall sites like this, or again, one-off research grants that you can develop one tool, then how do you sustain them? So we're going to talk about that in the question and answer session. And then I think it's also key to have integration of these sites across regions and even within the region with different land grants and agencies. So we are on social media. We do a lot of updates on our tools and climate smart farming programs, and that's my contact info.